So, let's go through some VODs and let's talk about Boogie. And then we get to go look at these games like this. So, this is V3 versus Axis. This is spring 2020. So, this is now, you know, over 2 years ago at this point. Oh, yeah, the shot glass. I should not. Don't leave my drink on the bar. Yeah. And yeah, so this is Boogie coming in. He has just left the Flash Wolves 2019. Boogie qualified for MSI with the Flash Wolves. But then in summer, Flash Wolves for the first time in maybe in their history, actually, did not qualify for Worlds. And that was the Boogie roster. So I think that was very disappointing for that. The LMS then disbanded and it became the PCS in 2020. And the jungler that he replaced on V3 was also the player that he replaced on the Flash Wolves. The guy that used to play for V3 was a guy called Baby. Now, you will know this guy as River, because River used to be called Baby. He reached the LGL finals in summer 2019, and they lost a 4-game series to Detonation Focus Me in the finals. And Baby, now River, of course, was an incredible player in that series. He was arguably the best player on the Rift in that series. He played a mean AP Gragas jungle, and yeah, he was a real carrying force for that team. They were also playing with Yutaro Miyashi at that point, he's like the other great Japanese AD carry, like historically. Yutapon is Yutaro Miyashi. So, that V3 roster had an awful lot of hopes and dreams, and it came crashing down in the finals because DFM they are by far the best of 5 team in Japanese history. They are incredibly good in best of 5s, and that's the real reason they keep going international. Despite teams being able to beat them on various metrics, they can't beat them in a best of 5 across multiple, or enough to kind of like really seal the deal. Now, DFM did actually lose in a best of 5 in spring to Sengoku Gaming. That is a whole other story. Maybe I'll do a video on that sometime, because that was a whole thing. But yeah, so Boogie had been to Flash Wolves to replace Baby, now River, of course. And the same thing happens at V3. And they rebuild around this Korean import duo of Boogie and Archer. Archer is also a rookie AD carry. This was his first split, I want to say, actually. I don't think he'd actually played in competitive before. So there's this guy and this guy. And it's worth noting that Reiner is also fairly new to the scene as well. So there is an awful lot of inexperience on this roster, kind of backed up particularly by Paz. Paz is the guy that is really, really experienced in this roster. And he's kind of like the level head. However, despite him being like, I guess, like the out-of-game leader for the team, whenever you're in-game, just watch what Boogie does. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go sit and enjoy some Boogie gameplay, really. And I'll try and think of some anecdotes along the way. Boogie is obviously stratospherically talented. This guy, mechanically, and in terms of the variation of styles that he plays, was just so good. And it was never a case of could Boogie play something. It was a case of does the team need Boogie to play something for them? But yeah, what I also want you to know as well is like, so actually we'll see this here as well. Like, Ace, loving the bits. So this guy was awful in lane. As a laner, he was really, really not it. The only time he really played well in lane is when he had some, like, spicy picks. His Syndra was also not bad. His Syndra was pretty good. Yeah, but what you'll notice that Ace is really bad in lane. So, the way Boogie plays this year is really interesting to see. Because he constantly plays super aggressively to put the pressure onto him. Kind of like in a Xerxes Malrang way that we've seen in Europe this year. Where he finds the enemy jungler, he invades enemy camps, he's playing champions which are typically quite safe to get out as well. Something like Lily with a lot of move speed, or with the ability to face check over walls with E. The Echo with E as well, mobility, Elise with repel, Rek'Sai with the tunnel system or whatever. And it allows Boogie to take the pressure off of his lanes by, 1, farming up, but contesting camps on the enemy side of the jungle. Because Ace just randomly does stuff like this. So this is actually pre-6 as well. Doing that with Echo's kind of awkward. But like... Yeah, and again, like, every play that V3 makes, Boogie's a part of it. And that's the really big thing to kind of notice here. And like, oh, he does so good to body block for his AD carry there as well. I know they still die, but... Yeah. Again, like, everything that V3 did this year, Boogie was at the forefront of it. He was contesting jungle camps. He was shielding his lanes by doing that. He was leading the dives. He was farming up. He was a carry. This guy, like... You cannot play this style without a Boogie, without a player the caliber of Boogie. And yeah, no, this game is against a weak team. Axes they went like 0-6, and Hoglet was not good this year, really. Well, this spring. He was very good a little bit later on, and then 2021, he had a real resurgence. This guy was very, very good in 2021, but this year was, particularly the spring, was not good. Not good. But yeah, so if we're talking about Boogie, like, particularly, because obviously he did just get picked up by TSM, and I want to kind of, like, at least put some extra information out there so people kind of understand what kind of a player he is. Again, like, he's just shielding ace. He's just there. He's just there at the right time. Wait, was he just farming before that as well? No, Raptors went up, actually. But, like, he just knows where to be. He knows which side of the map to hang on. And, like... Yeah, I think the other thing which I really want to talk about Boogie is, like, because this kind of comes into, like, a large point, right? He just, on a macro sense, understands where to be on the map. Not just knows how to pull off his skirmishes, dive onto the right target, threaten the right people, gank the right lane in the right way or whatever. He just knows how to be in the right place at the right time. And whilst he's doing that, he is typically farming up a storm at the same time. He's also a lane swap jungler as well. Even in this year, where lane swaps have been far removed from existence by the existence of turret plates and top lane tower being different resistance to bot lane tower and stuff like that, like, they found a way to make lane swaps work, and a lot of that was spearheaded by Boogie. Just, I can't, this guy's just, he just knows where to be on the map. He just finds the right way to do stuff. I think item changes, yeah, just engaging him. Yeah. Fun times. So that was how... And again, this is a champion which is... Echo was obviously quite strong at this point. And he was like a farming jungler, but he had a lot of skirmish potential. And he was just very good at a lot of different things. This game, again, you can see that they're playing around Reiner's Nautilus, which is very, very strong at this point as well. Lane dominant AD carry. You got a mid that can actually push in a little bit. But this time you're playing a very different role, right? The Rek'Sai is much more about early pressure. You're not going to be as much as like a late game carry. Let's see if we can get back into games. Oh, yeah, there was so many. Rek'Sai versus Lee Sin, bit of a counter matchup. You have to be very careful about how you approach the matchup because you need to be borrowed to cancel Lee Sin's Q. Now, you can make things awkward by ward hopping in as Lee Sin and just like starting your damage combo off before you use Q. But it's still a little bit awkward for the Lee Sin. That's particularly on this patch as well. Like, Rek'Sai is pretty strong. When's the first big stuff happen? Hang around bot side. And again, like, this is another one of the real special things that Boogie did in this year as well. And you know what? I'm gonna bring up another game. I'll show you it after this, just because like there's a really interesting game which I've VOD reviewed in the past. Again, yeah, he turns up top, affects a flippy matchup. Burns his flash, but burns the enemy flash as well, so whatever. Yeah, just here, right? So at this point, really good example of this, right? So the wave's pushed in, it's held like at a dangerous point. If you know that Lee Sin's not always going to be there, but because you have stuff like Gromp on the table, there's a chance that once maybe comes down. So you can see the Rek'Sai just recalling a bot lane. And this is something that V3 did very, very well. Reiner, as we said, was a rookie, playing a lot of setup champions. He played a lot of Thresh and a lot of Nautilus. He played a lot of Time Crunch as well, but like he played a lot of like typically setup champions in bot side. Boogie was insanely good at setting up through his bot lane because, as we said, this Korean rookie AD carry was here as well, Archer. And he was like the real late game insurance for the team. The whole team like played around in late game for him in team fights. But Boogie was like the actual carry of the team that enabled them to do that. And a lot of how he did that was just being really good at linking up with Reiner. On that note, I'm actually just going to quickly change VODs quickly because there is a very specific summer season game that I want to talk about. It's one that they lost because it was a really hard draft to play. And it was always going to be a hard game, but they made it almost work. So look at this, right? If you are playing against this team comp, you have double AP top. This is a really bad color. Well, whatever, we'll use that away for now. I can use this actually, maybe that works better. But like, you have double AP top side. You have 0 CC in mid. You're playing against strong early lane. Strong early lane winning matchup in top side as well. And you're against a farming jungler, which means that if you're playing farming jungler versus farming jungler and you're losing early lanes, you're so screwed, man. You're so screwed. So you have one thing you can do, which is hope to God that something happens like very early on in the game here, and that you don't get blasted level 1 by Jhin set, because this also, remember, Season 10. Season 10 Jhin is very different from other Jhins. Like, this actually does a fair amount of damage and is fairly lane dominant. You have a slim window of time where things work out for you. And as we'll see, it somewhat works out here, actually. Because he finds a way to just be in the right place at the right time. Here. But like, you can already see, he's on the Nidalee power farming. He's a very good Nidalee player. He knows his farming routes. He's very mechanically proficient at that. And you know that he wants to path towards bot side. The only option he has is towards bot side. Unica also does a quick clear just to make sure that he can kind of like be on bot side of the map and contesting early. Actually, is he doing a reverse clear here? I'm trying to figure out what he's doing. But yeah, still, level 1, level 2, it's very difficult to play around everything that V3 want to achieve in this. But yeah, But like, he just power clears towards bot, and like, he just finds the window to affect the one part in the game which he can actually have an impact on. And this is something that you rarely see from, you know, less veteran junglers, right? The fact that, yes, mechanically you can make stuff work, but it's about making the right mechanical plays work at the right time. This is a very difficult draft to play out. It is. Because later into the game, yes, you do have double poke. This is good poke. Yeah, cool, awesome. That's fun. Yeah, but you're also like playing against a Jhin and a LeBlanc, which is outranging you. A Graves, which has got good range too. This guy, which is really powerful on the flanks as well. Remember, this is like much stronger Renekton days as well in terms of a flanking mindset. And yeah, I think this is one of the real X factors of Boogie, and this is one of the real hallmarks of him as a player. Mechanically, he is awesome, but yes, the jungle root graphic is really cool in LGL. That's one of the favorite things about the broadcast. Anyway, one of my favorite things about Boogie is that even though mechanically he is a god and he could just play to out skirmish people every game, he plays so intelligently. It's not about making the important outplay in terms of out skirmishing someone. It's making that important skirmish outplay at the right point in the map at the right time. And that is what set Boogie apart from being just a good jungler to being the best damn player in his region in 2020. So when I think about when he can bring this through to, and how he can bring this through to something like a TSM or an NA in this year, if he is allowed to enact his vision of the game and be an actual leader for the team in terms of in-game and his shot calling and how he wants to play around his macro and he links up with his lanes, Boogie should be absolutely a player to watch. This guy should absolutely be a player to watch. So while I don't have like the most like ties to NA, you know, I watch the region. I've watched it for many years, but like I haven't done much coverage of it. I haven't done much content on it. When it came up to like TSM picking up Boogie, and I was really hoping it would come to the LEC because I knew he was looking like at places, but like, yeah. I really thought that, you know, Boogie could be a huge pickup for TSM. As long as they use him in the right way, right? You know, you have a lot of players with an awful lot of synergy potential. I mean, Maple's an X Flash Wolf as well, so you actually have multiple X Flash Wolves on TSM now. Now, you did have that with Sword Art as well, but now you've got 2 of them there at the same time. It's kind of fun. Actually, did they have 2 there before? Were Maple and Sword Art there at the same time? I'm trying to remember. Don't think so. I don't remember. Anyway. Right, they weren't there at the same time. Yeah. Anyway, that's kind of all I wanted to show from this game, but like, this game is like very hard to pull off from V3, and they don't pull it off, they do lose. But I just wanted to show like how cool it is to see Boogie playing something mechanically proficient, but also not playing it just in a mechanically proficient way, but playing it in the correct way as well. Again, just playing through bot side, understanding that the Callista is like the real win condition of this team comp in terms of like the lane you can actually play through early game. I'm trying to remember what happens in this game actually. No, it isn't. Oh, the stolen redemptions. Yikes. Oh, that's so sick. That's so sick. However, I didn't even realize this. They're completely baiting this. They know that the Lee Sin's there. That's great. Prime suspect number 1. One wardy boy. That's great. Flashes over the grab field. Takes a fight in multiple directions. Wait, do they? Ah, yeah. That's great. That is great. On vision, stood next to the wall. Give this man an Oscar. Give this man an Oscar. Team acts that so well. I miss watching Boogie play. God damn it. Where's this man been for the last couple of years in my life? I should have really watched him more. I watched a couple of games, but... This guy's so cool. This guy's so cool, man. I didn't catch all of Summer Finals. I caught a couple of games of it. Give this man an Oscar. Like, think you're going on to the Victor? Nah, screw that. One-shot the lower level jungler. Why not? 3 levels down on the jungler, on solo lanes at that point. Easier to burst out. No HP built up. Do it. Oh yeah, back when you had perfect Hex Core as well. Those were the days. Those were the days. Oh, man. So, yes. This is just a continuation of why I thought I should probably talk about Boogie. Because a lot of people are... Look, there are many okay reasons to shit on NA orgs and the roster pickups that they have up sometimes. Like, there are many... There is so much ammunition. Choose the right ammunition, folks. Like... I'm looking at what TSM have picked up in terms of... Like, they have Maple and Boogie, and I'm like... Holy shit, that's a good mid-jungle 2v2. I look at the other mid-jungle 2v2s in NA, and I think that there is... I'm not saying they're going to be the, like, top tier or whatever, but they definitely have the potential to be. Absolutely have the potential to be. Even though Boogie's not typically been a mid-jungle player. He's been more of, like, overall farming, wider map, macro kind of player. But he does it all. This guy does absolutely it all. I just love this, man. Just, like, everywhere Boogie is on the map... When Boogie has an advantage, he has a 2-level bloody advantage at this point. He's got 2 levels. He's got some HP to brawl with, Warrior Enchant, and then Boots as well. Like, he's just a wrecking ball. He's just an absolute wrecking ball. And I love how he just enables his team by doing that. Just using his point of power. Yeah, he just understands his role. Just understands his role. Alright, okay. Which one was this? This was Graves' game. Ooh, both of these were Graves games. This is regular season, this is playoffs. This is spring regular season. Yeah, I want to see how this works out. I want to see... I can't remember this game, actually, off the top of my head. But you're Elise versus Olaf. You are 100% getting outscaled, and you are 100%... Oh, level 1? Is this level 1? Is this level 1 shenanigans? Oh, that's fun. But yeah. Like, you're against a very difficult team to team fight against later on. You need to snowball top side of the map. Like, there's no optional in that. And immediately, level 1 gives you something to work with. No flash on Olaf. And this was like when Olaf could like power farm and just be infinite HP, get to Warrior Enchant or something like that. Or like, actually no, he could go Redemption first item this patch. Yeah, that's what Canyon was doing in fact. Yeah, set was absurdly broken in spring 2020. Oh, this was the Ebby special back then. So Bwipo was known for this. I'm not going to say that Ebby does this every game because he is more versatile than just this one level 1 play. But like, having Facebreaker start level 1, like, hits level 2, denies XP, and he knows that once he has the XP advantage, he's going to deny you more farm. And like, Boogie's like, oh my Gideon, what am I going to do here? Because he understands that the set is actually not a target at this level. So he actually goes to the Olaf instead. For me, just making sure that the Olaf is on vision and just understanding that he can just bully him out and just make sure that he can kind of play around it. That's really important to see. Because one thing you'll also see, and I think this is sometimes a fault of Jankos, actually. One of his few. What Boogie did here was he knows that he has to play towards top side, but he also knows that he can't overplay his hands. In terms of, like, if you give a kill up, the game is effectively over. Jankos would occasionally, and you can see it at Worlds this year, particularly in his Jarvan games, he was in a position where he's like, well, I've got to find an engage, let's see what happens. But, like, if you die on that engage, the game goes even worse, right? So, like, it's about playing to the limits of what your win conditions are as well, where you know you need to make a play happen somewhere, but, like, not over forcing it. Sometimes you have to force, I understand that. Sometimes you have to look bad for the sake of your team. But I think that, like, Boogie, very, very good at understanding what his limits are and, like, playing towards those win conditions, which is a really weird skill set to have. Not many people have that. I think that's someone like, oh god, who's a really good Korean player to talk about like that? Actually, maybe someone like Showmaker or Canyon's really good to talk about like that with regard to. Yikes. Boogie is heading topside. He understands the play is happening. He's just not there in time. That's it. Oh, they get their defensive TP. That's actually fine. That's okay. Oh, yeah, you could defensive TP more those days, I guess. Or, like, early TPs were much more important. Again, heading towards topside, understands his place. Yes, targets the right champion. Keep the Olaf down. If the Olaf can't run forward, things get a little difficult for DFM. You're relying on Set to do your work for you, effectively. Oh, yeah! This was Yutubon playing Nautilus. Yeah, because Yutubon plays everything in existence. Yutubon just is like, yeah, cool. Centimeter is perfect for Yutubon because he plays everything. Yeah, no, this DFM roster was... Yeah, this is also worth noting. Yeah, look at the score, by the way, guys. 11-1. The hallmarks of this roster were DFM could play around topside to a level that no one else could because Ebby was just so much better than everyone else. You could play around bot side. Yutubon and Gang were incredibly high flair players. They had a lot of creativity. And Seros was not necessarily your star playmaker. He wasn't going to play like Zoe LeBlanc. In fact, that's why they brought in substitutes eventually for him. They brought in Ramone from competitor team Rampage Pentagram to play Zoe LeBlanc when they were too meta and Seros couldn't play them. But the thing is, these players had played together for such a long time, particularly like these four. These guys have been together for like 2 years at this point. But then these... Seros and Yutubon, they'd played together since 2013. Ebby and Steel joined in like 2018, I want to say. Maybe Ebby joined in 2017, I'm trying to remember. I think it was 2018, yeah. And DFM had such a good synergy and understanding of how to play the game. They could also communicate all in the same language, which not all teams could. Because again, like you've got, you know, 2 Koreans and like a rookie Korean as well in here. That sometimes language difficulties would be a problem for them. DFM never had that problem, which meant that they could play wider map plays and they could like play better team fights too. Again, even with this, even with Steel being shut down, DFM found ways to enable him. This is just a really high level game for the LGL for its time, very much for its time. Punishes the E, chain lands, yeah. And again, like. Boogie's just a nuclear warhead for Ace to just, like, play on cooldown and be like, I have a jungler on here. Bloody hell, double TPing for the Elise who just repels out and gets away with it. He gets away with absolute murder there. He gets away with absolute murder. Oh, this guy was oh, yeah. That's another anecdote. When Boogie was playing Elise, he would go, like, you know, once he hit second items on... That's something which I remember. I remember talking about this. I remember talking about this now, but at the time. Whenever Boogie was on an AP jungler in 2020, he would go... This was the patch where you could go Zhonya's first or second, I guess, after your jungle item, I suppose. And he'd play stuff like Echo for, like, his W and his ult, or something like the Elise for the repel. And he was utterly unpickable. And what he would do is he'd walk up to the enemy and just say, you know what, come try and find me. And they would never be able to kill him. And right here, he gets out with full HP and gets to re-engage and get a kill at the end of this. And it means they can actually turn around the fight and actually get something from it. Yeah, he ends up dying at the end of this, sure. But, like, this fight goes so much worse if Boogie doesn't pull off what he does at that point. It would have been even worse. And of course, like, DFM obviously ended up winning that fight as well. And again, that's credit to how DFM are pretty good at League of Legends. But, like, again, he draws out 2 ults, flashes away from that. 2 ults, 2 TPs. I mean, it's just V3 just not responding in the right manner after this point. But, yeah. And again, just Boogie's just mid again. Herald this time, get some gold into the LeBlanc. Ace is actually now fairly significant at this point. Old Socks shoes icons, yeah, someone called that out earlier. No, Drew did that. Chains, pops the ult. Yeah. Again, whenever Boogie has a point of power in the game, he just utilizes it so well. And like, the way that I talk about this is, again, he just understands, like, he can put out the burst. He understands when he can put out burst and when he can't. And he plays, respectfully, that's not quite the word. There was a word I used to play with. Responsibly. He plays responsibly with a lead. Or if he has a lead, he's not going to be inting away, like, random kills, random deaths. Like, he is still going to impact the game. It's not like he's not playing aggressively, but he knows how to play aggressively whilst also not throwing himself into, like, hell's mouth and just expecting to just try and get away with a kill, like a 1-for-1 or something like that. He is really, really good at finding these moments of power and playing them out to, like, their best aggressive but safe extent. Okay, so now you've got Sork Boots, the Runic Echoes enchant as well, jungle enchant. Like, Boogie's super, super strong. You're obviously gonna fall behind in levels because you're in Elise, you can't power farm as much, but... yes, AP Nautilus. Following off of Doinby's 2019 AP Nautilus days, the center allows that playstyle again. Protobelt Nort, yep. Yep, it was the Doinby special. He showed the world how to do it. Saros Mr. Cannon, he's washed. And this isn't even V3's final form, actually. You know, V3 becomes so much better than this. You know, they're 6-6 in this regular season, but they slaughter Summer in so many ways. It was them, Sengoku, and CGA that were really doing that. DFM really fell off in Summer, actually. They really fell off. They really struggled. Boogie, again, just making sure that Sarah... Did he stop the... He stops the Galio from coming through. Yeah. He marks the... Again, like, he knows how to team fight on skirmishing junglers too. Like, Elise is not meant to be a team fighter, and he makes it work. Like, he's threatening the mid laner. He is threatening the mid laner. He has killed the mid laner. As a jungler. I know this is like Season 10. Junglers were much more able to do this. Junglers were much more threatening in this patch, which was for better or for worse. As a mid laner myself, I found that a little problematic. But, yeah. He just marks the... Look at this fight again. He just marks the Galio. I mean, Saros sees him on vision there. That's kind of on Saros. But, like, Boogie just makes sure he can't follow up with a combo. What's he gonna do? At least has flash. You can't even, like, get away from... You can't even, like, try and get distance away from it, too. So, at this point, V3 is still behind, but they have points of power, right? You can definitely team fight. And that's the thing. It is mainly about team fighting here. And again, like... I just love this, man. Again, like... So, at this point, you have Stopwatch. You're an Elise, so you have Repel. And you have significant damage. So, I just love how... It's fine, don't worry about it, it's fine. Just ignore it for now. I love how, like, look at this. He's just, like, taken up this whole spot on this side of the team fight and says, I can cocoon anyone here. I can cocoon anyone. And because you're cocooning within range of the LeBlanc and then also a Varus arrow as well, like, this is a big no-no for DFM now. Like, a super big no-no. And again, like, DFM have to back out and they lose someone. Or they will likely lose someone. Yeah, they do. And that is all because Boogie just chooses the right place to stand. Because you can't target him, right? Like, the only way you target him is, like, maybe you flash taunt very quickly. But then that's just basically a skill check. You are skill checking Boogie with a stopwatch, flash, and repel. And yeah, DFM have a really good turnaround because Ebby is very good again at League of Legends. This is why this game is so fun, right? Because you've got this is great as well, right? Because Ebby is also going to be an LEC. I talk about an awful lot, but this is mainly about learning about Boogie. But yeah, Ebby just like understands his point of power as well, finds a great angle, 4-man face breaker. And yeah, like again, he just gets out again. Ebby, it's like Boogie is unkillable. This guy is just like he's unkillable. And he comes back into the fight. Seriously, I mean, Boogie on like Zhonya's junglers is just unfair. If he gets at this point in time, I can't remember if he gets, I don't know how much he's been doing that in the last couple of years, but in 2020, if Boogie had his Zhonya's, you were just like in a really bad spot. I think there, by the way, I think he was actually trying to flash predict. Because right here, because you have the Varasol coming through. Oh, maybe not. No, when does he cast that? Does he cast that as the Varasol comes out? Yeah, I think it's pretty close. I wonder if he's trying to flash predict. Maybe. Either way, it doesn't connect, but I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt because he's in the right place. Again, like, he just understands that he can stand away from the clump, stand off on the side, and then threaten. Well, his team fighting is just really good. 2020 was also an awful lot about team fighting. Particularly in the LGL, it was. It was very much about team fighting. That one was just a miscocoon. Oh, God. Okay, he's unkillable, but not when he doesn't have a stopwatch flash or anything at this point. He gets caught out at this point. All right, they get him this time. Again, DFM are pretty good at League of Legends. Gang's alive at this point too. Sen is pumping out damage. I just remembered I have a lot of pretzels here. I've got my movie going snacks. Ah yeah. Olaf Galio combo. Salty. Okay. Boogie repels. He's fine. He has Zhonya's. Just look at the amount of time. How is he alive? How does that happen? Legit. Boogie with Zhonya's is just not fair. Also, like, serious credit to Boogie. He just got, like, his ass blasted in that last play. Like, he just got destroyed by DFM just, like, all-inning on him when he didn't have cooldowns. Now, suddenly, Flash, Repel, Zhonya's. He is so ready to just say, go on then, burn the engage and don't hit the Varus. So, yeah, he just used the... Oh, I love this, man. It buys so much space for Archer. Because if you, like, flash in with a set, maybe you reach them. Maybe if you flash Nautilus ult, flash over a wall with that. Because there's no flash on the Varus, in any other fight, because there is no flash on the Varus, DFM run this thing over. Boogie takes a set ult, Zhonya's is through, like, most instances of damage, flashes out, and runs away from the Olaf. Like, this is just so unfair from Boogie. How the hell does it... He's using his HP as a resource. And that, again, is another, like, it's a skill set which a lot of players still need to learn. They still need to learn it. And this is how V3 find their way back into the game. Like, you do not win this game against 11-1 DFM, slaughtering the regular season, unless Boogie is playing out of his goddamn mind, which he is. Okay, Boogie's not the first target this time. What can he do with this? He's got himself his own space. He's on the flank again. Decides to go front to back. Repels out to the scuttle. Still there as a... He's actually a damage threat. He just... This guy's so good. Oh, this guy's so good, man. Like, DFM are playing well this game, actually. DFM are legitimately playing very well. But, like... Boogie's played better. That's it. Boogie's played better. So Paz gets caught out, but like he's an Aatrox, it's gonna take him a while to go down. I wanna see actually how he goes into this one. Poke Varus is safe. Boogie walks in. Just a little bit of damage down, but like, Actually, this is really important too. He stops Seros from walking up. Again, he just forces Seros to not be engaging onto these two. How much does that buy, actually? Does that actually get much done? Yeah, Archer manages to flash out. Now, if... Yeah, and again, like, if Boogie's not on the flank doing this stuff, Archer's probably dead, actually. And because he's a poke Varus, if he's alive, he can do damage, so... And then that just gives space to LeBlanc to do stuff as well. Ace has a good fight. Ace actually has a really good fight. Yeah. So, I mean, we talked a little bit earlier in terms of the Echo and the Rek'Sai in terms of the early game plan that Boogie has, and then also the Nidalee game against CJ, the one that they lost. Like, his understanding of what his team needs from him in the early game and what he needs to do in the early game is really high. It's a really high level of understanding. But what we're seeing in this game is really against, like, okay, you're against another competent team. You're against a really good early game team as well. DFM had stunning early games in spring 2020. They just ran through most teams on the map. What happens when you go into team fights like mid or behind? Even and behind, rather. And you can see that Boogie, pretty damn good. I really want to see the positioning which Boogie has. So they're 4v5 on Elder. Okay, let's... Oh, they've just burst that steel. That's it. They burst that steel somehow? Wait, how does that happen, actually? Does he get hit by an arrow? How does this work? Arrow with Infernal Soul. So he's half HP. Is he actually in burst range from, like... Boogie could maybe, like, flash kill him here. Ah, Varus ult. Yeah, he just dies. He's just dead. Repels, Zhonya's, he's still got flash to play with. He's dead. Yeah, Boogie dies, but, like, he's done his job at that point. He's threatening the right targets. Aatrox is now a thing. Oh, shit. Set is a thing. Oh, my God. Ha 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 ha, Set. Season 10 Set. Okay, let's go backdoor. Let's go backdoors. And again, you can see that even on, like, a facilitating role... Oh, the game's still going? Lol. Okay, well, I guess we got more to talk about. But even on, like, a facilitating role, Boogie puts out a lot of value. Jesus, man. DFM somehow holding on. What the hell happened to it? Oh, wait, Boogie died again? Lol. Wait, what happened to it? Oh, my God. Oh, just that... If I blink... If I close my eyes, he does not in hit. He's trying to stop backs. He's trying to stop backs. Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, that one's a misjudgment. That one, in fairness, is just a misjudgment. The Elder for base trade. Classic TSM. He's perfect for that team. Well, normally TSM are on the bad side of that, where they take the Elder and then they lose the base. So, like, maybe he needs to work on that. You know, maybe he should lose the game for this first. Maybe that's the play. Oh my God! What? Wait, what does he get hit by? What does he get hit by? No, legit, what hits him? Oh, Luden's off of the bloody minions. Well. He's got lifesteal for days because, yeah, but... Yep. Nope. Boogie's just alive again. It's not really... This fight's not about him, not this woman. There you go. For me, again, like, Boogie 100% player of that game. Let's talk about this one. So, this is something which V3 practiced against the VCS. So, Team Flash, who were winning the VCS at that time, had some similar strategies that they took from each other. It's also why V3 played a lot of the Nidalee Jace, which we saw in the CGA game. That was a GARM thing that they did, I want to remember. In this game, you have a Scion. You have an Aphelios who is out of meta at this point. Aphelios is very hard to play. You don't have Gale Force to give you the extra range, which is what really brought them back. And you are hyper outranged. So you look at this and you go, oh my God, how does Aphelios impact this game? Well, what you do is you look at Prime Suspect number 1. You say, Scion, buddy, do you mind lane swapping dying for a red buff, you take like the camp, you take like a camp here. You can take 2 camps down here. Teleport back to lane with red buff, level 2, and just soak up the wave, while we have a power farming jungler clearing to the other side and diving the poor son of a bitch who sat under their tower. So this is game 5 in the Summer Grand Bloody Finals. V3 had lost to DFM in spring playoffs. 3-1. They were blown out. It was not close. They had a lot of hopes. They had shown a lot of good stuff, but they weren't ready yet. DFM stumbled in summer and made it through the lower bracket to the finals, and they pull this off. They have a lane swap level 1. Paz actually doesn't go for the execute this time around. He just goes straight under turret. But like either way, you've now got Ebby just stuck out in the middle of nowhere like, oh god, this is kind of rough. And he spotted out. And like you're sat here now like, okay, what's happening? And this is all because Boogie is very good at knowing at the right place to be at the right time. The only reason this gets crazy close is because Gang actually roams up towards topside as well and is like, okay, I can protect them under tower. I can't remember everything that happens in this game, but this whole game was so interesting because lane swaps were years out of meta at this point. Boogie had never played in a lane swap meta. Paz had, and Paz can call some of the shots here, but like Boogie's the guy who has to clear towards the right parts of the map. And I seem to remember a lot of this game being around Boogie's team fights as well and Lilia. Boogie's Lilia was really, really good. Ace didn't get the memo that he's in a lane swap, so he needs to be careful mid. That happens. Sion is getting solo farm, solo XP. And oh yeah, this is the other important thing too. So, Archer had a really bad series in spring. He really struggled. And he was, you know, the rookie AD carry that was meant to lead his team to a title and all this other stuff, and he just sucked. It was a really bad series. He starts Cull. He goes teleport, so he can get early game plays. He's gone for lethal tempo over fleet footwork because he knows he's going to be a 1v1. And he gets to just push in for free. He doesn't have to deal with the Jhin Rakan just bullying him out of lane every moment. So this is V3 playing a macro style, and this is Boogie enabling Archer to kind of right the wrongs of spring. This was such an awesome story to tell at the time as well. Lilia stealing Raptors, classic, that's what you do. And at this point, DFM, like, again, this is a team which has won almost every title in LGL history. They lost a couple to Rampage and Pentagram, and that was with Ebby against them. Ebby has won everything. Pretty much everything since like 2017 spring. Once he started winning, like he basically didn't lose. He lost like 1 title besides this one, which then obviously goes on to lose in game 5. And you know, okay, you know, this is worth its own little separate point. If we get Ebby in LEC, Boogie in LCS, we could legitimately have Ebby, 10-time winner of the LGL, finally having a chance to make it abroad, trying to, you know, take things to the next level in a way that even he, as a very experienced player, has never managed to do before. Boogie has gone from LMS, wins it with the Flash Wars, goes to the LGL, beats Ebby. He is the last domestic player to deny Ebby a title. Goes on to LLA, very narrowly misses out on his own title. Goes to NA. We could legitimately have a world where maybe these teams meet at Worlds. I don't know if they'll qualify. I don't think they'll be qualifying first from their regions for MSI or what. We'll see what international tournaments look like. I don't think that MSI is going to change to that degree. But like, we could legitimately have Ebby versus the player that denied him his last domestic title on the international stage in major regions. That, to me, as my own, like, LJL, particularly 2020, like, super fan, that is worth its weight in gold. I absolutely love this. As Sam, Lexi, and myself, like, the original LJL OU guys, like, this is fairy tale. There is no other way to put it. This is beyond perfect. This kind of storyline just doesn't come around in League of Legends. It shouldn't do in esports. It shouldn't work like that. And yet it has. We could literally have Ebby versus Boogie in major regions after their titanic clashes in 2020. They were, as we said, like, as we've just been watching, right? These players were the Boogie versus Ebby in that last game, in that regular split spring game. That was basically just Boogie versus Ebby. And it was so damn close. They're both so damn good. And for me, the fact that we could see this in major regions, That is such a magical moment to capture. And I can't wait to see it. Hopefully. I really hope it comes to be. Part of me wishes that Boogie had gone to LEC instead of LCS for this exact reason, because I'm like, hell yeah, let's do it. Oh, Ebby. Speaking of Ebby, goes down to Boogie for first blood. And now at this point, you've managed to get Aphelios through the laning phase, and you're playing a farming jungler that can teamfight much better than Nidalee. Nidalee has been denied the early top lane jungle 2v2 pressure. Shen Nidalee is actually a very dangerous combo in Season 10. And Boogie looks at that and says, alright, cool. Let's deny you that. Let's get our own AD carry running off to the races. And I'm going to start calling the shots the later the game goes on. He's got his runic echoes. He'll be going towards his Zhonya's next, I presume. Because he always does. And yeah, you sat there as DFM going like, all right, we got some stuff to play around, but we got to out team fight now. We're playing from disadvantage. From where they expected to be in this game anyway, especially with those drafts. Shenot's coming through. Reiner takes the first engage, then they get the kills. There you go. And suddenly Aphelios is really, really online. Whereas Aphelios, in this meta, it's really easy to forget after the initial split of Aphelios, and then what we've seen in spring and summer of this year. It's easy to forget the low point that Aphelios fell through into in Season 10 Summer. Season 10 Summer, Aphelios was not easy to play. It was very, very difficult to make things work. Because he couldn't play laning phase. Not against Varus, not against Jhin, not against Misfortune, and a lot of champions like that. So this lane swap, which was obviously spearheaded by Boogie, going through to a point, man, they call that a defensive teleport just for Lily ult as well. Again, it's just like, plays like this really, really make me excited for Boogie in a major region, because this is a skill set you don't see in minor regions much. Like, you look at this point here, right? And you are sat here like, okay, right, you've got like Archer pushing in again, but like, it's just going to be wave soaked. And you're kind of worried about what's going to happen with DFM maybe stabilizing, start picking up farm. So he just pulls the ult onto Gang and just says, all right, okay, what are you going to do about it? And it calls in a defensive TP. And that TP means a lot more to DFM at this point because they're playing around multiple globals. Than V3. They get to play around, yeah, they've got their globals kind of like, I feel like this really favors them because like they're playing against like, they've got the Zoe that can push into the Azir, and the Azir now can no longer like soak a wave and then teleport second. So he has to like roam second instead, which is much worse than teleporting second from under turret, especially in this tournament, this patch. And again, that same pressure means that you can't flank TP behind them as well. Of course, in this meta, you obviously can do that. Boogie bullying out the enemy jungle. Oh, that's actually the bigger point. It's actually less about catching waves. At this point, it's about, you know, one of the real risks of this Aphelios is that you can get teleported behind. Same problem with Caitlyn around this time too, and Caitlyn in 2021, very, very similar. Like, you could see this in preseason, before the teleport changes came through, just after preseason. Where if you teleport behind something like a Caitlyn or an Aphelios, they don't really get to play the game. And removing that kind of teleport makes it much easier for Lilia to just be a wrecking ball and Boogie to play through the same style again. And even with that, this is still a close game, right? Again, I loved watching V3 versus DFM. They were very different skill sets. You know, V3 were a very spiky team. They were not the best in laning phase. They had to find ways to escape lane, effectively. And just say, look, how do we not make this about Ebby in a 1v1 or a 2v2 topside? How do we not do that? How do we not make it about Ace being left alone in a dangerous matchup in mid? Because again, you can even see early in this game, right, his flash was blown. And most of the way they did that was through Boogie being an absolute monster and being everywhere on the map at once. That's most of the way they got away with it. Absolutely crazy. And now you're at the point again where actually Archer can play this game. He is relevant in farm. He does have gold. Yeah, you can see he's like up 1,000 gold. Top lane, also fine. Sion also benefited from this lane swap. Hasn't been denied. Ebby, though he can teleport to the other side of the map, because all the plays have been happening around the Shen's lane, it doesn't matter. And a lot of this doesn't happen unless Boogie gets to like play like this again. He's just a wrecking ball. He's just a wrecking ball. He just, every time V3 is making a play, Boogie is there. Like, he starts this off. He kills Steel. Now, I'm really, really excited to see Boogie in LCS. I cannot say that enough. Now, obviously, a lot of this is nostalgia. I'm cherry picking. I'm taking a lot of games that I remember him being very good in. But, like, these are not isolated games. He was consistently excellent in 2020. And I've not seen as much of him in the LLA, but he was, as Drew was saying in chat as well, you know, this guy just 1v9'd. He 1v9'd it there as well, even Elo Helling, and he didn't win, but he went to 5 games as far as I remember. But yeah, and Boogie's Lilia, we haven't talked about that as much, but this champion was basically perma-banned away from V3. He was too good at this champion. The champion was too strong. He was another Zhonya's jungler. He was a teamfight menace. It allowed him to be a damage threat in teamfights, which is something that all teams wanted to deny away from him. People were banning away his Elise after a while, because we saw what happened with that champion, right? There were just some times where you just couldn't give Boogie these sorts of champions. He just was too dangerous on them. Far too dangerous. Oh, Abby walks into that. He was actually in a really awkward spot there. Yeah. Bonk. Takes down the Shen. No globals now. You got Herald push. And again, every play this team makes, Boogie's starting it off. He's taking the tower by himself. Yeah. Anyway, I'm glad to see that it wasn't just a one-off like 2020 year then from Boogie. Based on what I've heard from LLA and from Drew in chat as well, who did a similar thing to what we did with the LGLOU, but with LLA a little later on. Oh yeah, so he's got stopwatch. Yeah, I like this as well. Like, he's gone for the stopwatch, but like he knows he can just sit on damage, so he goes towards the haunting guys instead, just to sit on the extra, just sit on the flat pen, whatever it is. Actually, is that just flat pen at this point? I don't think it is. That's the extra ramping damage. It gives you ramping damage. It just doesn't give you the burn in Season 10. But yeah, it's just efficient gold itemization. Gone from the Merc Treads because he knows that he needs to be... There's a lot of CC for him to be aware of. And also, like, double AP topside as well. But, like, you're also afraid of, like, Gang Engage, Jin W. Even, like, the Azir slow is worth thinking about. And then you've also got, like, the Shen Taunt as well. There's a lot of stuff to Merc Treads in that game. Archer's got 2 items. Infedge Hurricane. That is such a shit hot combo in this season. Holy moly. If you ever go into Calibrum range, he just good luck with that. Sign ult. Good tanking up with that, actually. Really good tanking up, but just doesn't matter. You've just got too much gold. Saros actually has a really good position there as well. Man. In a normal game, in a non-lane swap game, DFM's comp would have absolutely wiped the floor with V3. So, yeah, again, we've covered a lot about Boogie in terms of early game plans, in terms of knowing which lanes to gank, in terms of how he skirmishes, in terms of how he pats and is around the right lanes, how, you know, the mechanical outplays and skirmishes, how he plays that in team fights, how he can do that on basically any bloody champion. There are some games which we've not checked here in regards to, like, a lot of AD champions, like his Graves, very good farming jungler, similar kind of regard. In stuff like his Lee Sin, he had a very successful Lee Sin as well. Trundle was another one of his better ones when his team actually figured out how to play around that. But then also, to games like this is game 5 of a grand finals. And he pulls out a ballsy as fuck strategy to say, we're going to lane swap. We're going to pick an Aphelios out of meta. We're going to lane swap to set him up for success. And then we're going to make sure that he can get into the game because I'm just going to farm and play better than Steel. And he does it. And he does that against, like, the region's greatest jungler of all time, Steel. And he somehow pulls it off. Like, the amount of like credit you have to give this man is, like, it's crazy. Boogie in 2020, one of my absolute favorite players to talk about ever. This guy was so fun to talk about. And of course, this is in the same season that Arya was popping off too. So you had to do, and I would argue that on an individual level, God, he freaking hits the minions for the splash. But yeah, I would argue that Boogie Boogie was the MVP of 2020, even though Arya was incredibly important to his team. Incredibly important. It was between Reiner, Boogie, and Arya, because Reiner had a really good series too. Really good season. In this game, he's kind of like the fall guy for this. But yeah. Yeah, Reiner and Boogie, they were really special. The jungle support duo was incredible to watch. And as we saw that in the one like Nidalee Thresh game, like finding the one part in the game where you can actually successfully gank that lane and making it work out. Yeah. So again, like all of this comes back to, you know, a lot of people are very down on what TSM are doing. I actually think they've set up themselves up for a very good roster if they manage to get things, you know, get them at their peak, get people at the right form, and get people synergizing. If they're supported well and they don't have language difficulties, I think that TSM actually have a very good roster. So I'm just giving some extra information out there, giving some extra context for actually how these players can play at peak, what they've achieved in the past, and how that can potentially come true for TSM. I really hope that Boogie gets a chance to show off. This guy's hit rank 1 on NA solo queue. This guy was incredibly impressive in like the Champions queue and stuff like that around the Worlds, which he attended in 2020 as well. This guy's got good reputation. He's got really good work ethic, which I think applies quite a lot to NA. I think it's often a topic of conversation out there. Actually, I was chatting to Azael very briefly as well because, you know, I was like, hey, you know, I've cast this guy before. If you want to know anything about him coming into LCS next year, let me know. You know, so we had a bit of a chat. Oh my god, that E. That E. Look at this. Like, DFM are forced to take this mid lane out of turret. You've lost the mid lane inhib already. You need to get something back in this mid lane. You don't get to, oh god, they've taken, like, the 2 side lane out of turrets, but they've taken nothing else. And they just, yeah. They absolutely destroy him. And that's how they win themselves summer finals. Yeah, but no, as I was saying, I was talking to Azael and was like, one of his responses is that, you know, like, the community in NA very much respects a good work ethic. That's obviously been a big point of concern in NA, or a big talking point in NA for a while. So yeah, and I think that he'll bring that. He'll bring a large amount of variety, a large amount of flair. And this guy he has been on an ass-kicking world tour. See how Minch means them too. Yeah. There you go. That's our man. Mic that up there. God, I'm so bad at typing. Yeah. That's our man Boogie. That's our man Boogie.